What's up everyone? In this video we're going to be looking at the Pentax 6.7 135mm f4 macro. So I recently picked up this 135mm f4 macro lens for my Pentax 6.7. I wasn't really looking at buying this lens, it was an f4 and I always kind of thought, I want 2.8, I want 2.4 or something for my lenses for my portraits. But this lens was at a local shop and it was sitting on one of the shelves, and I'd always kind of looked at it and thought, will I, won't I don't know if I can be bothered. Anyway, I finally went in and I asked for the price, checked it out. It was only $200 odd Australian, so about 125, US. And I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. And boy, am I glad that I did. This is a really nice lens. It's a little bit bigger than the 105, but it fills in some gaps for me with my portraiture. This has the close focus of 0.75, which allows me to get in that little bit tighter for sort of headshots and if I want to do slightly tighter, more detailed shots while I'm shooting. The 105 is still one of my favorite lenses, but it only goes down to 1 meter, and sometimes I just want that little bit extra. Being that this is a 135, it's a little bit tighter, so when you are closer and tighter, it just makes for an all-round better sort of lens for those tight portrait shots. And this thing is wicked sharp. I'm really happy with the results. I recently took it on a shoot and I used it, and yeah, I was really blown away by some of the results that I got back from it. I've had some people say, this is very similar to the 105, like you shouldn't use both. And for me, I got this just because it was easier than getting the extension tubes. Extension tubes are allow you to focus closer, and you can use them with the 105 to get in nice and tight and get some super dreamy, lots of bokeh, real tight shots. But for me, I'd never really seen any on the market locally. I'd only ever seen them on eBay in Japan, and at the moment with the pandemic, shipping is expensive. I'm paying nearly 2 to 3 times more than what the extension tubes cost just in shipping. So it worked out to roughly, maybe a little bit cheaper, but pretty similar to this lens. Now that being said, after looking online and on eBay, I found out that this lens was probably worth even less, or is even cheaper when you buy it on eBay from Japan or somewhere else like that. So, instead of macro tubes, maybe give this a try. Really nicely built, wicked sharp, real nice. When you get in nice and tight on this focal length, the f4 doesn't really matter. You're getting incredibly large amounts of subject isolation, and I think 2.4 is almost too shallow a depth of field when you start getting in real tight and close, and you'll probably end up stopping down to f4, maybe f5.6 when you're using the 105 with extension tubes. Now this lens does extend out quite a bit and does become quite large. And overall it's a little bit larger than the 105. I'll just get that to show. So as you can see there, it is a little bit larger than the 105, but overall I think it's a good little lens to have in your kit. Stops down to f32 because it is a macro lens, and that could be helpful if you do landscapes and you want to stop it down a bit more and you just need and you're using a tighter focal length. But yeah, overall, I'm very impressed with this lens. I'll throw some pictures up that I've taken with it so you can see just how nice it is. And yeah, if you're looking online, some of the modern ones on eBay I found were somewhere like 150 Australian dollars. That's probably 75 US. So this lens is incredibly cheap and has really good results. I would highly recommend this for your Pentax 6.7 kit. But anyway, I'll put up the photos now so you can check them out. So I hope you guys enjoyed those photos. Let me know in the comments down below which ones were your favorites. So this lens, who do I think it's for? If you shoot portraits, I would highly recommend having a look at this, just being able to get in that little bit closer, and then having a lens that you could use all on its own on a shoot. You don't necessarily have to bring the 105 if you don't want to. You got lots of light, and then you don't have to deal with putting it on, extension tubes, all that kind of stuff. If you also want to save some money, if you've bought yourself a Pentax 6.7 and you're looking for lenses, this is very cheap. The 55mm is very cheap. The 75mm f4 is very cheap. If you wanted to get sort of 3 lenses for maybe even slightly less than what you'd pay for one of these 105s by itself, you could do that. You could fill out a whole kit. They'd all be f4s, but unless you're shooting sort of late golden hour, blue hour, stuff like that, or you're using slower speed films, you might not necessarily need that extra, stop. But yeah, overall, I'm incredibly happy with this lens. I might look at upgrading it to a modern version with all the coatings and everything like that. Just because it's so cheap, I can just look at, when shipping gets a little bit better, I can get a new one, ship it over, and it's just dirt cheap. I couldn't believe how affordable this lens was. And then the results that it was giving. I haven't really seen too many results online, so hopefully this helps you make a decision if you want to get this lens, seeing the results that I got. But yeah, overall, love it. Great bargain of a lens. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.